Peace be upon you. Today we want to learn more about the past continuous tense. Our goals for today: number 1, identify the past continuous tense. Number 2, identify the uses of this tense. Number 3, learn the forms of this tense: affirmative, negative, and interrogative. Last, we want to do the exercises in the student book, workbook, and worksheet. First, now when I say past continuous, I mean that I want to add ing for the main verb and preceding it by was or were. Now, example number 1. I was sleeping at 11 p.m. last night. I is the subject, and was here is the helping verb or auxiliary verb. Sleeping, this is the main verb that is means continuous because it ending in ing. And at 11 p.m. last night, this is the specific time in the past. Okay, again, this is the subject and this is the helping verb. This is the main verb, sleeping, and this is the specific time that indicate the past. Now, another sentence. You were sleeping at 11 o'clock last night. You is the subject, where is the helping verb, and sleeping, this is the continuing verb. At 11 p.m. last night, this is the specific time in the past. Number 3, he was sleeping at 11 p.m. last night. Here I want to focus on the time. What does mean of a specific time in the past or non-time in the past? If you want to use past continuous or describe an action that happened in a specific time in the past, you have to use this kind of tense, past continuous. Why? Because you want to describe the action that happened at 11 p.m. exactly. Now, last night, it isn't enough to use it with the past continuous. You have to use the specific time by using the clock, the time, the minutes, okay, to describe the action that happened in the past or was happening in the past. Now here, what is the use for these sentences? The use here, an action was happening. Pay attention that the action was happening at a non-time in the past. When you say happening or the action was happening, you have to imagine that the action was moving in that exact specific time in the past. Number 2, when I say I was, look at this girl first. She was sitting on the sofa and she was watching TV. She was interested, okay? And someone called Sally. Now what happened with her? She stopped watching and said, yes, what do you want? Now, the sentence here, I was watching TV when she called me. The long action here is was watching. Now this is the long action and this is the continuing action. While she was watching, what happened? Someone called her. When someone called him, she stopped watching and answered her. She stopped watching. In this case, we can say the short action that is called interrupt was watching or the watching for the TV. She stopped watching and she answered someone. The situation here, an action was happening, okay, when another action interrupted it. interrupted معناه قاطعه. هلا here focus on what? Focus on when. Now, when here indicates that something interrupt another long action, or short action interrupt a long action. Now, was watching is the long action and called is the short action. Second, when always followed by verb to and preceding by was and verb ing, or were plus verb ing. Okay, now this is a grammatical rule and the meaning that short action interrupt a long action in the past. Okay, now this is the second use of using was or past continuous. Third use. Now here a sentence. While I was reading a novel, my son was playing football. Now here, as you see, I have while, okay? And always we use while to describe two actions that were happening in the past in the same time. Now imagine this action described I was reading, and this action describes my son is playing. Now these two actions happening in the same time. Then these two actions happening in the same time. In the same time, one was reading, another was playing. Okay. Now two actions were happening in the same time in the past, and always while followed by continuing verb or the past continuous. In the second part, we can use past continuous here to indicate that two actions happened in the same time. The second use or next use. Now here the example. As she was chopping the onion, she cut her finger. Now here the past continuous verb, the past continuous tense here is was chopping. Okay. And here the indicator I use as. Now listen. When you saw this girl, you saw that she put bandage on her finger. Okay, you asked her, "What's wrong with you? What happened?" She tried to explain about why her finger was cut. Okay, when she explained, she said, "As I was chopping the onion, I cut my finger." Now, what did she do? She gave you the background about the action. She gave you background about why her finger was cut. Okay. Now, in this case, we can say this kind of structure you can see it in the stories. When the writer wants to give you the background about the story and the set of the scene. The scene معناها المشهد، فالمشهد اللي انت شايفاه هو الجرح الموجود في إصبعها. Okay, she want to explain why her finger was cut. She tried to give you background about this injury. Okay, now by say I was chopping the onion. وأنا عم بقطع البصل انجرح إصبعي. Okay, فإذا هون عم نحكي أكثر إشي هذا الفانكشن. You can find it in the stories when the writer want to give you more explanation about the background of the in the story about the set of the scene. Now here the keyword is as, and always after as we use past continuous. Next. Now look at this picture. This man was having a shower. Okay, now this is number one. This is the timeline. As you see, he was having a shower. This is a long action. Okay. Okay. And the phone rang. This is the short action. Now what happened? He was having a shower when the phone rang. Now what did the phone do? The phone rang and interrupt the long action was having a shower. Interrupt the long action was having a shower. Now look here at two sentences. The first one, while I was having a shower, the phone rang. The second, he was having a shower when the phone rang. The first one indicates that we use while, and while always describe two actions were happening in the same time. Now the first action was having a shower, the second action rang the phone. But in this case, you have to pay attention that after a while we use the verb ing or the past continuous. The second sentence shows us that he was having a shower when the phone rang. It means that this short action or past action interrupt and stop the long action was having a shower. Now with when we can understand that this action interrupted the long action. Now another thing that with when we use verb to. These are the main points that can you find or differentiate or the difference between these sentences. Next. The summary. The summary for the lesson today is هلا الملخص لل past continuous. The past continuous is used to express first interrupted actions. حكينا interrupted actions معناته short action interrupted a long action. فعل ماضي قصير قطع فعل ماضي طويل والمقصود فيه عندما بنحكي long action I mean the continuing one الفعل المستمر. Second, specific time. You have to find in the sentence specific time. Specific time you have to add the clock also and the past day. The last one is parallel action. When I say parallel action I mean parallel هي المتوازي. I mean the same action or the same two actions that were happening in the same time. Parallel معناها متوازية يعني these actions were happening in the same time. Were happening in the same time. I was watching TV when the phone rang. This verb, okay, or this action interrupts this action. Now we can say about this sentence that short action interrupted the long action by using when. Second, last night at 7 p.m. Now here, the specific time at 7 p.m. Okay, when you put the clock or the specific time or non-time. I was having dinner. The last one, while she was doing her homework, her brother was playing. These are two actions were happening in the same time. By using while always, we can describe this situation. Now, these are the main points about or the summary about the past continuous. Next, the structure of this tense that is contained from subject, was or were plus verb ing. You have to pay attention that I use was with the singular I, he, she, it, and I use were with the plural subject we, you, they. Now, she was cooking. The negative form. How we can get this action or tense? She was or were not and plus verb ing. She was not sleeping. The last, if you want to form a question, you have to start your question with was or were. It depends on the subject. Now here we use was because the subject is she. Was she sleeping when he came? Now these are the forms of the past continuous. Keywords. It's important to take care about the indicators because these keywords or indicators help you to deal with this kind of tense or sentences. Number one, the first keyword is when, and always I use when with the verb to or past simple. The second clause we can use the past continuous. Pay attention that when I use it to describe that short action interrupted the long action. Second, while. Always we use after while past continuous was were verb ing, and in the second clause also we can use was were verb ing to show that two actions were happening in the same time. Also, I can use while plus where or was plus verb ing, but in the second clause we can use verb to. And also we can describe the actions or two actions happened in the same time in the past. The last as always, followed by was or were verb ing, and the second part will be in the verb to. At the end, you can deduce that as and while, followed by past continuous. The last. Go to the worksheet to do this exercise. Put the verb between brackets in the correct form. Correct form. Number one. I space to home when Khaled space me. Now here I want from you to pay attention on the keyword or the indicator when. I said after when we have to use verb to, but before when we can use the past continuous. Here I and the verb here is walk. I was walking. Okay, this is the first space or gap. Khalid met me. The past of meet met. Next. Yesterday at 7 o'clock. Pay attention that this is a specific time in the past. Here we can use Ali was watching TV. Okay. Now number three, while my mother space cook, my father space read the newspaper. Yeah, you can got the idea that two actions happened in the same time in the past. Now with while always we can use continuous or past continuous tense. Now was cooking and my father was reading. Here you can understand that two actions were happening in the same time. Number four, I space sleep when the phone space ring. Now as you see we have when, and when also I use it to show that a short action interrupted the long action. So after when I have to use verb to, but before it I have to use the past continuous was sleeping. Okay, and here rang. Sorry. Now sentence number 5. Space you space talk when the teacher come. As you see we have when, and after when we use verb to. So come will be came. And here in the first part before when we use the past continuous where, Okay. The last sentence, the snow space fall heavily as Mary Space walked in the park. Here the verb will be in the past simple because after as we use the past continuous. Now that's it for this tense. I hope you enjoyed and benefited from the lesson. Thank you for your listening. See you next time.